How's it hanging, everybody? We had the most recent chapter, Gaban, lay the absolute just vicious beatdown on Luffy, and he just tells him right away, yeah, I'm disappointed in you, Luffy. I'm ashamed of you, because Gaban tells Luffy to his face, you want to be Pirate King? You want to be the GOAT? You want to surpass Roger? Becoming Pirate King is the impetus. It is the throne that everybody aspires to be, and their death is celebrated because that is the throne everybody's climbing after. And Gaban tells Luffy, he's like, you're not ready for this. You're not built for this right now. You need to get humbled. You think because you're a Yonko with a white new form and everything, suddenly you're it? Gaban basically just eviscerates Luffy, and yeah, Emu just chilling in the background like, okay, oh shit, okay, they're talking serious. Okay, I'll just wait. I'm gonna kill everybody here anyway. I might as well just let them finish up. And Gaban just lays it into him, and he says, if you think it's gonna be all sunshine and rainbows, you're not ready for this. You're just not built for this. And Gaban lays it out to Luffy, and it's clear as day. And that got me thinking about, okay, the Pirate King. Yes, it is the throne that everybody aspires to kind of chase after, because almost all the characters we see in this story, not all, but a lot of them, are chasing after the throne, title of Pirate King, or at least at one point did. And that's something they all wanted to do. And that's what I want to talk about, because what does it mean to be King of the Pirates? What does it mean for Luffy? So that's what I want to talk about today. As always, I want to bring up a new stat. It used to be 98% of you guys who watch my videos are not subscribed, but good news, we're up to 96%. Well, we're down to 96% actually. So if you're still here in, I'd really appreciate it for me if you smash that like, comment, and subscribe button. I'm a small channel, anything goes a long way, but for now, let's get to it. Okay, so Gaban gave his whole spiel about everything about what the Pirate King means to him, all right? And some people need to understand this. This is Gaban telling Luffy, not sorry to just break his spirit, but telling him, listen, don't think just because you're a Yonko, you're there. You're not close to it. Remember, Roger died 24 years ago. He was dying, he was executed by the world government, and he realized, hey, I'm not going to do this. And he's like, I'm not going to be able to finish my work, so he turned himself in. And by the way, okay, weird thing. What was his plan? Like, did he have no plan? Did he just intentionally know somebody was going to ask him and be like, hey, Roger, what's your treasure? What is it? The One Piece. And Roger's just like, yeah, me hearties. You think I don't? He's like, I was planning for this shit. Okay, you want my treasure? You can have it. I left everything I gathered in one place, in one piece. And he gets run through. And ever since then, all pirates have been chasing after this dream. Hell, Luffy's main line at the end of every episode, he says the line, we all know it, we gotta say it from the top of our lungs, Kaizuko Oriwanaru. Kaizuko Ori, I'm gonna butcher that my Japanese, sorry. Kaizuko Oriwanaru. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. He says that every time at the end of every episode. This is Luffy's main goal. Well, later we find out he has got another goal, but this is the main thing he's been chasing after this entire series, becoming King of the Pirates, to follow in Roger's footsteps, so to speak. And what does it mean to be King of the Pirates? Because there's a lot of, and this gets into something that we see Don Tinjao say, that in the New World, you're going to battle of conquerors, and the one who comes out on top will be King of the Pirates. And this also kind of relates to what the One Piece is. So first off, let's just start this out, okay? The One Piece is an actual physical thing. A lot of people theorized back in early One Piece days that no, the One Piece is some kind of like, oh, it's not the treasure, it's the journey we made along the way. And it's an actual physical thing. It's not a mountain of treasure. It's probably something very valuable that it's Joy Boy's treasure. He left behind. Roger and his crew found it, and they were laughing hysterically when they reached Laugh Tale Island. And it's a physical thing. Oda himself came out and said, no, there's a physical thing. Now, for Luffy, he doesn't give a crap about being the actual, treasure or finding that. No. He wants the adventure that comes with it. Because way back in Sabaody, when Usopp was going to ask Rayleigh, hey, is it true? Is the One Piece real? Is it? What is it? And Luffy immediately shuts that shit down. He's like, don't say anything. I don't want to know, okay? I don't want some boring adventure. Don't tell me. I want to know on my own. Okay, I don't even know if he even exists or not. And he get Riley's like, okay, I like the cut of this kid's jib. He's definitely the way Shanks hyped him up to be. And now here's the thing. Luffy also explained, I'm not sure if it was in this arc, but in some early arcs, he explained what being the Pirate King meant to him, what it meant. It's the one who is the most free. Luffy said it himself, he's not interested in conquering the seas, he just wants to be the most free. And this kind of like obviously is a direct parallel to Roger versus like people like, say, Kaido, Big Mom, Shiki, even Rocks to an extent, Teach as well. They wanted to conquer the sea, so to speak. Well, they wanted to conquer the seas. They wanted to monopolize and take control. Roger had no interest in that. Now, I don't know if Roger had islands like Yonko territory or whatever. We don't know how the system worked back then, if the Yonko thing was even a thing back then, but who knows? And here's the thing. This kind of gets into the main theme of One Piece, one of the main themes, okay? Because there are a lot of themes. Slavery, obviously. Racism, 100%. Warmongering, authoritarianism, fascism, generational trauma. There are a lot of themes in One Piece. A lot of themes. But by far, the biggest one that keeps coming up is freedom, what it means to be free. Because, say you're just your average Joe in the One Piece world. You work a typical 9 to 5, you go home, spend time with your wife and kids, and you're just chilling. Do you have true freedom? Are you really free? Even if you don't like pirates and you don't want to do that. Do you have true freedom? If you're not doing anything, you're just minding your own business. In the wider One Piece world, no, you really don't. Because this gets explained, obviously, most famously at the people of Ohara. They were basically researching the poneglyphs. The world government says, we don't like it when you research the poneglyphs. We don't like it when you do that. And the world government said, nope, you can't do that. And Buster called the fuck out of everybody. They all got. They just got slimed out. They don't exist. That island, Lucia. Look at them, people of Lucia. They were living their lives. Granted, at that point, they had just overthrown their king. And, well, they didn't overthrow their king. What they wanted to do was do what the French did in the beginning of the French Revolutionary era, where they decided the king is like, hey, listen, sign this constitution limiting your power, and we will accept you back. And the people of Lucia is like, hey, listen, if you just basically admit to being an asshole, we'll take you back. Just stop being an asshole. And the king was like, he's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that shit. And immediately came the Sky Weapon, Uranus, and the people there just got wiped out. Like, they did nothing wrong, really. They weren't criminals at all. They just were tired of living under a shitty regime. And the world government can just wipe you out like this. And even if you're less island, you're a particular race. Look what happened with Kuma, a member of the Buccaneer tribe. His entire clan, his entire lineage was just blacklisted. Like, and this is a thing that ties into real life world. Oda draws parallel. Like, if you were in North Korea and your great grandfather committed a crime, you could get blacklisted from everything. Like, this could haunt you for generations. And mind you, Kuma, his dad, Clap, they had nothing to do with what happened, years ago, and with the Buccaneers and Joy Boy and everything, where they committed this grave sin, so to speak. But no, they immediately are hunted down. And so in the One Piece world, you don't have real freedom. Now, here's the thing. This is something that ties into that. Who are people who are seeking freedom in One Piece? Well, obviously, first, pirates. They're raising their Jolly Roger, and it's being a pirate isn't all. First off, most pirates are not like the Straw Hats. They're not all for the love of adventure, or as Oda says it when someone asked him, hey, will the Straw Hats ever find romance? And he says, of course they have. They're in love with adventure. But that's not what they're doing. Most pirates in the One Piece world are scuffed people. I mean, let's just be straight up about this. They're pillaging pirates. They're going to take your shit and maybe sell your people into slavery. We know this. But not all Marines that we know, just the pose, are all good. We've seen corrupt Marines as well, like the most extreme being Akainu, and the most lawful good being like, I don't know, Vice Admiral T-Bone. Now, R.I.P., my man, you got packed up. Oof, you did not deserve that. But no, we see a bunch of different spectrum of pirates and Marines, and pirates are striving for freedom. They're trying to live life because as the way they see fit. They don't want to be under the thumb of the Celestial Dragons, of the Tenryubito. They don't want to be under their thumb. And they just like, you know what, screw this shit. We're going to raise our pirate flag. We're going to set sail and become pirates. And we want to see what happens next. After that, we don't give a fuck. And so you sail out your way on your business trying to obtain true freedom. And honestly, here's the thing. being free isn't free. It's very dangerous. Like, there's a reason most pirates die young. It's a very dangerous thing. First off, sailing in the One Piece world is just a shit show and a train wreck. I mean, you have to basically survive hell weather trying to get to the Grand Line and Reverse Mountain. Then you go through the Grand Line, and you have to go through even if you do get to the Sabaody, your ship might get crushed on the way to the New World, and the New World is just a mess onto itself. So being a pirate is just not for the faint of heart. It's something you have to strive for. That's why the first half of the Grand Line is called Paradise, which, by the way, and they also have the Calm Belt, which is basically large strips of ocean where there's no current going by. So unless you have a paddle ship, or you can do the Chad thing Rayleigh did and just swim across the ocean and beat the shit out of Sea Kings, you're fine. But other than that, you don't have much of an option. And this kind of relates to Roger. Because what Gaban was saying, okay, Roger was the king of the pirates. He was the arch pirate. He served as the nexus point for so many pirates. We saw his execution when he died. Countless pirates, like, for example, obviously, Crocodile was there. Mihawk was there. Doflamingo was there. Dragon was there, but he was already doing his, like, freedom fighter, revolutionary shit. So he really wasn't, like, he wasn't interested in the pirate thing. He doesn't have an issue with the world government. He just wants to get rid of the corrupt celestial dragons at the top. But we saw this, all right? And obviously you saw Buggy and Shanks there. And for Roger, being king of the pirates was like the final act of his life. Because remember, Roger, so let's just do the timeline. Roger was born 77 years ago. He died, actually was executed 24 years ago. He first reached the end of, say, for example, Laughtail Island, Lodestar Island, or let's say Lodestar Island. I'm going to use Lodestar. That's what I'm going to do. Lodestar Island is the name. And he got there 39 years ago. So basically means 13 years he roughly got there. So it's a year before God Valley, okay? This means Roger started his pirating journey when we look at the timeline of his map, right? Because when Brooke said, hey, Roger, he was a rookie. I remember him. He was a rookie. Well, Roger became Pirate King. Roger started his Pirate King 52 years ago. So that means he was 25. Yeah, Roger started his whole pirate journey when he was 25 years old. This lines up with Rox, who started his pirating career 56 years ago when he was 25. So it lines up perfectly there. We can kind of map Roger's life a little bit. Became a pirate, met Rayleigh at 25, sailed the Grand Line and everything. Then when at 39 years ago, 13 years ago, so Roger would have been, let's see, Roger died when he was 53 years old, and he said, so that was a year, so in 14 years. So Roger would have been, let's say, add another year. Roger was holy crap, he was 39 when he got there. Okay, wow, who figured? He was 37 when he, 30, okay, yeah, he was 37, 30, I'm stuck at math, apologies. Okay, so Roger got there when he was in his late 30s. He got to Lodestar Island, and then he realized, oh crap, I needed to find one more island. And so for 13 years, okay, Roger basically kept grinding through his entire time. So 13 years. So it would have been, 13 years. So 39 years ago, 13 years ago, then 26 years ago, he met Odin. And then they sailed the seas for about a year. And then he immediately, found Laughtail and just reached the end of the Grand Line. And Roger and his crew were just laughing. They were just laughing. And Roger, Rayleigh said it best. He didn't really get a chance to enjoy his time as Pirate King. He just didn't get a chance to enjoy it. Like, he put it in perspective, he didn't get a chance to enjoy it. Like, he really didn't. Even though he was technically the most free person in the world at that point, Roger was like, oh yeah, he's king of the pirates now. Yeah, Roger, he's the man who has everything. He obtained wealth, fame, power, and influence. We also learned Emu's the reason why he's known as Gold Roger instead of Goldie Roger, but I was under the assumption that was his nickname. Like, what was his nickname? Like, he had to have a nickname, right? Obviously, every pirate in One Piece has a nickname. Like, what was Roger's? Because if he was known as Goldie Roger his whole life, what was his nickname? I thought his nickname was Gold Roger, like Eustace Captain Kidd or Basil Magician Hawkins. Like, what was his nickname? I don't know. I have no idea what Roger's nickname was. If you guys know what it is, tell me what it is. I have no idea what Roger's nickname was. But no, Roger sails the seas. He conquers the Grand Line, so to speak, and he is Pirate King for 1 year. And then he immediately disbands his crew. I mean, he spends the next year basically shacked up with Rouge, clapping cheeks. conceives Ace and then meets with Whitebeard, and he tells Whitebeard, he's like, hey, are you interested in becoming Pirate King? I mean, I don't give a shit who runs the show at this point. I'm going to be dead, but you can have it. I mean, I'm sure she ain't letting that hag Lin Lin or Shiki or that punk Kaido have it, but you're cool, Newgate. I fuck with you. You can have it. And Whitebeard never was cared for it. And I'll get to explain a little why nobody since Roger became Pirate King. This, and Roger turns himself in, and then I'm still like, dude, Roger had to have known. Like, he had to have known. Somebody's going to ask, hey, where is your treasure? And Roger just says it, oh, yeah, this is just, I'm going to start some shit. Now, Roger did get the last laugh because in death, he basically made the world government's life a living hell, which may or may not have been a counter to, like, stop the flooding because they knew everybody was going to get washed away. And so he figured, okay, if I start the Great Pirate Era, maybe more people can, like, take the seas and survive this. I have no idea. I'm just spitballing here. But Roger does his thing. He turns himself in, gets executed, and he begins the Great Pirate Era. His death literally starts it. And this kind of gets in the second point. With why has no one been able to become Pirate King since then? Well, there's a few reasons why. Number one, nobody with... Okay, let's start with the most obvious. Who could have become Pirate King? Whitebeard. If Whitebeard really wanted to, if he really just locked in and put all his energy towards it, he could have done it. But he didn't. Because Whitebeard, as Doflamingo said it best, he stood before the throne, he never sat on it. Whitebeard didn't care about finding the One Piece and becoming king of the pirates. He didn't care. He just didn't give a damn. And he just basically tells Sengoku before he dies, he's like, listen, I don't care about the One Piece. All I cared about was my family. It took my boy Ace from me. So guess what? The One Piece is real. He goes out like a Chad, dies, and this reignites the Great Pirate Era because it had been over 20 years at this point since Roger's death. And when he was doing this, it was like, wait a second, hold on. You're telling me that this dude basically had nobody who'd come after him and succeed him. Well, let's look at why they never succeeded. Let's talk about Big Mom and Kaido, the two Yonko. First off, Big Mom and Kaido kind of got complacent. And not kind of, they definitely did. They basically became landlubbers in the fact that they had like their territories, and yeah, they would occasionally go out and pirate, but they weren't sailing the seas. People forget, Roger spent 13 years looking for somebody to help him get to the last island. To put it into perspective, I did the math in my head, okay, because I'm stupid and I suck at math. My apologies. He was 39 years old when he got to Lodestar Island, okay? He was 39 years old. That means, okay, when he got there, because he died when he was 53 years old. That was 14 years because he met 13 years ago he met Odin. 13 years after that, so it's 14. So 53 minus 14, he was 39 years old when he went to Lodestar Island. That pretty much is like he had spent years just grinding through it. Big Mom and Kaido. Kaido, to put it into perspective, when he was 39, took over Wano. At this point, no, he completed his takeover of Wano. At this point, him and Orochi had taken over the country. Odin did the naked dance thing for 5 years, and at that point, the country was on lockdown. Now, Kaido would occasionally go out and pirate, but for the most part, he kind of just kept Onigashima. He kept his territory. He didn't really go out to see a lot. He didn't live out in the high seas. Roger did. Whitebeard did. Big Mom, she built up Totland, and she was basically trying to create her quote-unquote utopian society where all the races of the world were giant and they were eye level with her and shit. Like, that's a whole other thing to talk about. But they didn't actively keep grinding. They didn't actively keep grinding. And Luffy said it himself. He doesn't want to conquer the seas. Heck, Luffy doesn't even want to be a Yonko or a Big Shot at the end of Dressrosa. He basically tells the allied pirates who worked with him against Doflamingo, he says, listen, I don't want to be a Big Shot. Y'all can do your own thing. Y'all can form your own pirate crews. I'm going to do my own thing. Adios, deuces fam, we can just leave. And, the Hiruden, Bartolomeo, who just was like pushing them all, be like, no. We're going to get the sake cups. I have a sake cup right here. We're going to get the sake cups. We're going to drink from it, and we'll become father and son in all but name. And Luffy's like, well, hold on. I don't want to be some Big Shot now. I don't want that. I just want to be free. And Hiruden is like, listen, nothing will change. We're still our own pirate crews. We're still going to do our own thing. But you're going to be your own man, all right? If we need help, we'll call you. If you need our help, call us, and we'll be there for you. And so Luffy's like, all right, fine, just do whatever you want. I don't want to be some big shot. Luffy isn't interested in just being a mere Yonko. And he also doesn't want to conquer or be seen as a hero for that matter. Luffy told Momonosuke at the end of Wano when he finally punched out Kaido, he's like, do me a favor, fam. Don't let them know I was here. Just don't let them know I was here. Say it was somebody named Joy Boy or Panda Man for all I care. Just don't name anybody else but me. I don't want to be seen as a hero, even though Luffy is, come on, he's a hero. Tell that to Nami. Tell it to Chopper. Tell it to anybody in Fishman Island. Luffy is a hero. Dressrosa has a literal statue of him, all right? I know it's technically Lucy, but come on, they all know who it is. And so, let's just kind of say, okay, first off, Luffy's going to be Pirate King at the end of the series. I'd be stunned if he didn't. Now, if Buggy became Pirate King, I mean, that's Chairman Buggy. What can you do? That's Chairman Buggy, man. He keeps failing upwards. He has, like, he can never lose, all right? But if Buggy became Pirate King, I wouldn't be mad. And then there's this guy named Teach, whoever. I think he was Rox's son. Who cares about him? Never mind him. When Luffy does become Pirate King, he said it himself. Pirate King isn't like the end all of his dream. It's like the step to get there. And he tells the Straw Hats his dream. Now, we don't know exactly what Luffy's dream is. We just don't. We can guess. We can make conjecture on this. We think we know what it is, but we don't know what Luffy's dream is. And I'm of the opinion Luffy's dream, and this is a theory, Luffy's dream is, obviously we know it's the same dream Roger had. It's the same dream that Roger had word for word that, when Luffy said it to Ace, Ace repeated it to Yamato. Yamato was like, connected the dots. And was like, oh, wow, he is the one. And what's Luffy's and Roger's dream? To throw the world's greatest party. Because what do the Straw Hats do at the end of every arc? Throw a party. Yeah, pretty simple. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy. It's just that's my thought. I think Luffy's dream is very simple. He's a very pure-hearted person. There's no grand, thinking or anything with him. There's just like, yeah, Luffy wants to throw the world's greatest party. That's it. There you go. That's it. End of story. Luffy's goal, the world's greatest party. Yeah, but that's all I wanted to talk about today with everything about Luffy and everything Gaban said and what being Pirate King means to him. Because holy crap. Yeah, he gave me some things to think about, all right? Because Gaban laid the absolute brutal beat down, all right? But as always, if you're still here, I'd appreciate it if you'd smash that like, comment, and subscribe button. Anything goes a long way. And I got another country with us here today. If you can guess in 3 seconds whose country this is, you get a cookie.
A few moments later.
It's Finland, all right? If you ever want to know what Finland's side looks like, it looks like this, all right? Until next time, I'm your boy Malik. Deuces, fam.